Test, test, test.
We're going to call this meeting to order. This is the City of Texas City, Nestler Center. We're having a Wings of Heritage. We're having a commission workshop. First on the agenda is the roll call. We're going to start with Commissioner Delgado.
Jason Delgado, District 4.
Chris Sharp, District 3. Wade Johnson, Commissioner at Large.
Abel Garza, Mayor.
Brian Getchis, Commissioner at Large.
So we have a majority. 5 out of the 7 members are present. Next, we're going to get started by turning this program over to the moderator, Mr. Joel Tumbleson, Chief of Staff for the City of Texas City.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners, and welcome, community. Just a couple of housekeeping items real quick. There's a clever touch screen over there. If you're having trouble seeing, you want to walk up to that screen, you can see the presentation a little better. Try not to touch that screen. It is a touch screen. So today we just we call this public workshop because we wanted to, ultimately our objective is to receive consensus from the mayor and commission on the direction for the municipal complex project moving forward. So back in May 21st, 2025, the commission approved a funding to start this municipal complex. Since then, a new mayor and commission has taken office, and following the transition, we've gathered a lot of feedback, and since then, we've made some adjustments considering that feedback with some new proposed ideas. But ultimately, we want to get some direction from the commission and the mayor of how you want this project to move forward. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jack, and then we'll get started with the presentation. The plan today, Mayor and Commissioners, is to have PGAL kind of do an overview of how we started, where we got to, our current status, and some proposed ideas going forward. And after that, we'll have the public come up here and the community can give comments. And then after that, we'll open it up for questions and comments or concerns from the commission and the mayor. And we have a multitude of people here that should be able to answer or address any questions you ask. So
Thank you.
with that, we'll turn it over to Jack.
And Mr. Harrison, we're going to try to get another microphone. That one sounds real raspy.
I can holler if it works better, Mayor.
Well, if no one's sitting there, he can pick up that microphone.
Will this one reach?
Yeah.
Jack, will that reach?
Hello, hello. Is that better? Yes. All right. Well, what I'll do is I just wanted to introduce the team that we have, Mayor, Commissioners. Like Joe said, we wanted to just get some direction of how to proceed with this project. Just keep in mind that once we have a direction to go, it's going to take probably 3 to 6 months to get some pricing so that we can really just stomp the gas. With that, the person who's going to be giving our presentation, the most of the presentation, is our architect, PGAL. And Cody with PGAL is going to come up here and kind of run us through where we started and where we're at right now, our ideas and a couple different options of what we're looking at so that you guys can take a look at it and let us know if we're in the right direction. PGAL is an award-winning architect. We've chosen. They've been working with us. They've done a lot of hard work to get us where we're at. They've done everything that we've asked them to do. And in their efforts to give us exactly what we need for the City of Texas City to last as long as the last City Hall did, we chose to get a contractor on board through the Construction Manager at Risk process. Construction Manager at Risk is a process that allows us to get your construction manager on board prior to having all of your documents done so that they can help us develop the budgets and keep us in line where our budget is and where it needs to stay. So Spall Glass is that contractor. We went through the competitive bidding process. They were selected. And it just so happens that Spall Glass is the contractor who built the old City Hall. So it comes full circle with that in that regard. But with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Cody Blanchard with PGAL. PGAL.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cody Blanchard. I'm going to walk you through the history of the project and show you how the project's evolved over time. Go ahead. Okay. Thank you. So the site for the project, it was decided to utilize the existing City Hall site. The existing building is 15,780 square feet. You can go to the next slide. This is a comparison diagram showing the outline of the new building in a dark bold line over the existing footprint of the existing building. So you can see they're comparable in size. To some degree, you can see sort of ghosted in the EOC, which I'll get to in a minute. Go to the next. So initially, back in April of 2025, we were asked to develop a concept package for this building. We created a series of floor plans. You can see on the screen at the bottom is the first floor plan. Top would be the second floor plan, and we created a site plan showing the different components that would go into this project, the new City Hall with all of its departments, as well as the Emergency Operations Center. The design has evolved over time, which I will get to shortly. Once concept was, I would say, approved, we moved into a programmatic stage of the project where we met with different city stakeholders from each department and analyzed the current needs of each department as well as projected the future growth for the city. And we created a series of charts, and we went room by room looking at room sizes and head counts to determine what the final program for the building should be. So these are just some screenshots of all of that data compiled into a digestible format. And then this is the concept exterior rendering that we included in that package. We gave the city 3 options, essentially, of architectural styles for this building. This one was ultimately chosen. We call this a transitional style, where it's using some traditional architectural features mixed in with some more modern elements. So things to highlight about this design and why we like this design. It does play off of some of the existing architecture at the Doyle Center. There's a terracotta roof at the roof of City Hall and the EOC. There's a stone arcade you can see, which connects both of the buildings together aesthetically. The main entry would be signified by 3 sort of landmark archways. And then we're also featuring some kind of architectural landmark tower element that would give this building a little bit of prominence from the street view. And then this is how the design has developed. We took that program and we kept developing that design. This is a more up-to-date rendering, and just showing you how we're still honoring a lot of the things that I spoke about on the last slide. The square footage that we're sitting at now, the first floor is around 31,000, the second floor is 17, the EOC is just shy of 7,000 square feet, so bringing the total project to around 55,600 square feet. And then this is the original design's site plan. You can see the larger of those gray boxes would be the City Hall building, and it's oriented on axis with that existing Centennial Fountain that's out in front. The existing parking lot is maintained and it's resurfaced. To the right of the larger building would be the smaller EOC, and then they share this mechanical yard space between the two, and that space is also utilized for circulation to get up into the Emergency Operations Center. Behind the buildings would be a parking lot for employees, and everything is fitting nicely between Phoenix Lane and the existing walking trail to the west of the site. So this is the floor plan of that design. It's color coded by department, so you can see which department occupies which space. I'm going to walk you through this floor plan starting from the front with the series of double doors that face the Centennial Fountain would be the main public entrance to the building. You'd be greeted with a reception desk and a stairwell that could lead you to the second floor. To your right, which would be the left side of this drawing, would be a new commissioner's chambers. As you circulate south, you'd pass an elevator, public restrooms, court check-in, clerks, and a courtyard to your right, and eventually you will this corridor will lead you to the municipal court space. Going back to the lobby, on the other opposite end of the commissioner's chambers would be the utility billing department, much like the City Hall building was designed before. To the right of that would be the training room, which could be a dual purpose. It could be used by EOC. It could be used by any department. The city at large could utilize that space for training. South of that in yellow is the IT department, and then south of that is community development and grants. Below that is some back of house spaces in gray, and then in blue at the very end it would be the communications department. Go to the next. This is the second floor of that design. As you going back to the lobby, as you go up the stairs, it would lead you to a public mezzanine, which you could access the mayor's suite, which would be in that teal kind of color on the left. On the opposite side, and everything really on the right side of this plan is secured by a card reader and corridor. But on the right side of this would be in the kind of darker pink, management services, and then economic development in the lighter pink. So that blue color would be legal, yellow is HR, and then we have finance and purchasing south of that. And then in the middle of the building is a core space with a shared conference room that could be utilized by any department, restrooms, and then in that blue color in the middle is city secretary. So this is the resulting square footage that those two levels add up to, or are sitting at around 48,665 square feet. The EOC, this is the plan for the EOC. The primary space for the EOC is an emergency operation, or the war room for the Emergency Operations Center. It holds about 35 spaces. There's a support storage, a support conference room. There's a space for dispatch for 6 workstations with their own restroom and break room. And then there's a server room in this building. There's a break room for the employees. There's support offices, and then a locker room and 2 restrooms with showers. So this is an elevation drawing of that design. You can start to see what materials we're considering for this building. Primarily at the base of this building is a stone wall that has a series of arched openings that connect both buildings. You can see also the concrete tile roofing in orange. There's a mix of orange and light beige bricks. And level 2 of this building is primarily stucco plaster, with the EOC being tilt wall. We can paint it to match the same color as the stucco to keep a consistent design. So over the past several weeks, we've been looking at some alternate schemes for both City Hall and the EOC, as Jack alluded to. This slide is talking about a new location proposed for the Emergency Operations Center at Fire Station 4, which is off of Lagomar Boulevard. The site plan depicted on the left side of the screen, that you can see at the top of that image, there's the existing fire station that was built not that long ago. And the darker colored rectangle would be the new EOC, with around 45 surface park spaces to accommodate users of that building. And it's really the same floor plan, just picked up and put at this site. There you go. And then these are some images of, on the left, this is an image of that fire station. It's mostly like light tan brick on a dark CMU base with dark standing seam roof. And so I think we're moving the design direction into matching that aesthetic, stripping back some of that higher end material, not higher end, but some of the limestone and terracotta roof can come out of the EOC design, and we can go to more materials that match the existing fire station. The second part of this presentation is about the current designs that we're considering for City Hall. We were asked to look at primarily a single-story version of the building. There's a number of other revisions to the plan that this sketch incorporates. I'm going to go through those listed here to the left. One is removing the shared training room. The second would be removing one of the courtrooms, the smaller municipal court, and utilizing the commissioner's court for a dual purpose use, using it for commissioners' meetings as well as municipal court. Removing the purchasing department, which would be absorbed by the financing department, so it would be a smaller, it would be a reduction in square footage, but the finance department would grow slightly to accommodate purchasing's needs. We're also removing the economic development department from the scope. We are looking at reducing some of the spaces in the municipal support functions, such as taking out one associate judge, one marshal, one clerk. And then, of course, if you create a single-story building, you're taking out 2 elevators, you're taking out 3 stairwells when you do that. And then the last thing would be downsizing IT to just a single-use office that they could house out of this building if needed. So the sketch on the right, where the commissioner's court was previously, seems to be a great home for the mayor's office, just bringing that space that was there down to level 1, which would be nearest to the public entrance. Behind that, we can also fit management services and city secretary. And then since the EOC is being considered to be moved to another site, we can start to grow the building eastward. So HR can start to create a wing of the building in the east direction there at the top in yellow. And we can also sandwich the conference room there just south of it. Where IT used to be, we can rearrange CDGA and legal to fit. Communications can be reorganized as well and slid up to fit finance on the bookend of the south wing of the building. So this is a Excel file just saying the same thing I just said, summarizing what that does to the square footage of the project. It's around 11,400 square feet taken out. And then we have one more option that has been considered, which keeps the commissioner's chambers and locating it on the south end so that it can be used as both the commissioner's chambers and overflow for municipal court. But all other changes are the same in this version of the sketch. And this version, you can go next. This version's not as big as, there's not as much square footage removed here. It's around 2,200 square feet difference between both of these sketches. So this would be the second version. We put it on the site to study how that might fit. And one thing to at least note here, those parking spaces in red are, they were initially intended for EOC. So with the EOC removed, those spaces we can choose to remove from scope or carry as and add alternate in the bid. And then finally, we did look at the building proportionally, trying to study what would the architecture characteristics of the building be as a single story. And we're liking the way this is going. We still think that this version of the design gives the buildings a sense of importance and prominence. And I have one more image of it from another angle. You can see it as a single story version. Okay.
How's this? Does it work at all?
Test, test, test.
You got to turn it on, huh? No, it wasn't. Okay, hey, Cody, thank you. Commissioners, I hope that you got at least a good overview of now where we were started, now where we're at. Just to kind of sum up, if I could, option B of the last two things that Cody presented. Option B allows us to meet all of the original goals while still cutting 9,000 square feet out of the building. So that's something to keep in mind. And we're trying to get a consensus of how we're to go from here so we can move forward and get this thing on the road. Just once again, remind you that, it's going to take 4 to 6 months to get a price. So I want to make you guys aware of that it is, it's not going to be something we can turn it around tomorrow and have you guys a number for. We don't even have a number right now because I don't know if it's hard to tell because Cody did such a good job, but that was just a sketch that he put together. So without further refining the design, we won't really be able to dial in some hard numbers. But cutting 9,000 square feet from the building will make some serious financial considerations. Thank you.
Thank you.
And so just to recap, Mayor and Commissioners, we were moving along with this project, and then once we had a new commission and mayor take office, we started receiving feedback from the community and from commission, and that's what drove us to ask PGAL to kind of pause where we were at. Like Jack said, it's going to take a while to get to the point where we bring y'all a final number, and we didn't want to keep going towards that goal and spending time and energy and money if it wasn't something that was supported by this dais. So that's kind of what drove us to kind of hit the pause button, get with PGAL and say, what are our options? And that's what we're hoping to present today. As far as the staff, Jack and I both really like option B. Having the commission chambers and the court separated gives us a lot of options, especially when we don't know what it's going to look like 40 years down the road. But we can utilize that commission chambers as a training room when we want to get all the staff together and go over a new policy or procedure like we used to do in the old city hall. And that would be a lot easier if it's not a shared space. But both are definitely options for y'all to consider. And again, with the goal of we're just looking for some feedback. What direction do you want us to go so we can start heading that direction without wasting more time or energy or anything like that. So having said that, we're going to open this up to public comments. And then after that, commissioners, when we get to agenda item 4, we can open it up to whatever questions you have. We have Kristen with Masterson Advisors here. We also have a representative from Spalglass and PGAL, Ms. Laura Boyd, our interim finance director is here, Jack, myself, and anybody else. We hope to be able to answer or address any questions or concerns. So, Mayor, I'll let you take it from here if we want to go to public comments next.
Thank you very much. The first person to register for public comment is Ms. Gwenethia Pope. If she's present, she can come to the microphone.
All right, and as y'all come up here to speak, please keep in mind the further you get away from the mic, you start to lose it. So you have to stay pretty close to the mic while you're talking so we can pick it up on the recording and all that. Thank you.
And the time limit will be 3 minutes for comments.
Not a public speaker. I'm Gwenethia Pope. I am the current purchasing manager for the City of Texas City, and my comments are, excuse me, Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My comment, listen, Ms. Barbara, I just said I was nervous. My comment is solely from the employee perspective. So until you come to work in the morning and you and the rep have to decide who's gonna work in that space, because you're looking at him and he looking at you and you looking at him, and it's like, which one of us get the desk today? I want us to take those things into consideration. We are in the footprint we were on top of each other. So yes, a smaller building may make some sense, but we are asking that you guys leave it the way that it was. We have bid it out competitively. We've done everything that we were supposed to do, and honestly, they can't get us numbers for 4 to 6 months, which means we may pay the same price, if not more, for the smaller rendering than what we already have numbers for. So that's my time, and I really didn't want to do this, but thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Next to speak is Lucille McGastley. Followed by Mr. Jose Boyds.
Good afternoon. My name is Lucille McGaskin. I'm a resident of Texas City, and I'm a little suspect of the meeting being held at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because a lot of you always wanted to say that you wanted the community to have input, and a 2 o'clock in the afternoon meeting, a little strange. I'm a little suspect. The other thing I'm worried about, they have new members on the council, but did the old members look at the original plan? And did you have input? Because this makes no sense. And then the delay, just like the previous person said, they're sitting on top of one another. They probably were sitting on top of one another in the old building. So now it's even worse. So I'm suspect of why you want to change the plan all of a sudden. It's a little strange. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jose Boyds, followed by Ms. Barbara White.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. My point is not actually on the project itself. I'm more in comments about the process that took place. And we need to actually review the process. I applaud and support the Commission effort to conduct what I call a salvage operation from a municipal wreck. A wreck that was driven by legacy rather than by real need. The wreck started by the previous Commission, January 8th of 2025, when actually a resolution was included to use 95 million of bonds to do this project. And then all of a sudden, through some legal action from our friend, Brian Getchus, he found out that the meeting was carried illegally, and actually the whole thing was actually reposted. And then on the reposting, which happened March the 5th of 2025, all of a sudden the 95 million turned out to be 75 million, and they added a new fire station. Wow, that is amazing. So these facts underscore the questionable process developed and accepted by our former commission. Also, I must consider these facts. There was something called Community Matters 2030, and this was actually back in 2021. It was approved, and that followed another report by the Gardner Economics Report around 2023. Well, none of those reports that's supposed to have provided the path forward into the future for Texas City included the municipal project. If that would have been so important, why was not that project included on Community Matters 2030? And on top of everything else, we have not heard anything about the progress made on Community Matters 2030 and the Gardner report. I mean, that is what we need to find out. We need to know from the commission and the city why are those projects. So anyhow, those are my words, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Boyce. Ms. Barbara White, followed by former Mayor Johnson.
Mayor, Commissioners, I appreciate the fact that we're having this meeting now, although 2 o'clock is not an opportune time for the majority of people in this community to be here. I honestly think that we don't need that quite as big a building, and we don't need a Taj Mahal with a fancy tower or any of the other extras. We need space for the employees we have. I don't think Texas City is going to double in size. This new building is more than double in size. I think it still can be downsized a little further and consolidate some of the expenses so it's not quite so expensive, so we can get out from under all of the money that's proposed to be spent and pay back some of it to save some money for a rainy day. And I think we still need to know how much has already been spent and where it went. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Former Mayor Johnson, Dedrick Johnson.
Dedrick Johnson.
To be followed by Ms. Irene Faddick.
We have a city attorney today.
A police officer.
Is this their time to pass out paperwork? They're allowed to pass out paperwork?
No.
They're passing out forms.
It won't be added to the record.
We have public comments going on. Can we not pass out any newsletters at this time, please? Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mayor Dedrick Johnson, former mayor of the city of Texas City. To Mayor Garza and the commissioners and all those assembled, good afternoon. I just wanted to come and provide some clarification on some background information that a lot of you may be unfamiliar with. And I want to thank PGAL and Spalglass and all those people we've been working with over the past couple of years to make this come to fruition. I understand that there's been some desired revisions to the original plans that we had worked so hard to get together for the public, and that's quite okay. The current commission is responding to what they see as citizen concerns, but I do want to let you know the amount of work and effort and research that we put into the original plans. This meeting, scheduled at 2 o'clock right now, as has already been said, is very non-conducive to the working class citizen. We scheduled 4 information sessions, 4 in the evenings, and some of you may have come to those, but we wanted to inform you. I simply just wanted to say that we are building for the future. We're not building for today's operations. We're not building for today's population. We're not building for today's staff. In our research, we visited both Sugar Land and Pearland and Friendswood, and we learned about some other cities who built city halls that were far beyond their scope. They built for the future. And today, those city halls in those places are already to capacity. And so it would be very short-sighted for us to build something for today's populations and today's staff and find ourselves in need once again. I do want to just really highlight the amount of misinformation that's being put out in the public by our sitting commissioner, Mr. Brian Gutches, who is against this project for his own reasons, and that's fine. But the misinformation and disinformation that's going out really needs to be researched by you, the public. The city never went out for $95 million in bonds. There's no financial documents that state such. There is no documentation other than a meeting which talked about a notice of intent. Our creditors have told us what our limits were, and we came back after our research, after doing our due diligence, and thought about what we needed, which came up to about $74 million. I want to thank our previous finance director for working hard on that and making sure that this scope and this project was able to fit in that without raising your property taxes. And we've done that, and so we're thankful for that. If you want to revise the scope and move EOC, I'm sure our experts and our executives have talked about that, and if that works, then that's fine. But I do want to caution us about being counterproductive to the initial efforts. The initial efforts were to centralize all operations and bring all of these buildings to one spot, making our operational efficiencies better. And in our revisions, we're kind of undoing that already. The more we wait, the more expensive it will be. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Irene Fadig. Irene Fadig. Oh, I'm sorry. Followed by Mr. Henry Gomez.
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Commissioners. I just wanted to say thank you for reviewing and everything and doing everything that y'all are doing. I do want to thank the previous administration for getting this project started. I've been in Texas City for over 35 years. I've been at the city of Texas City for the last 15 years. We needed a new city hall. So I guess my comment is that I'm hoping that this current commission will come together, make a decision, and get it on the road, because where we were, it was not a very good place to work. Over the years, it is just, we couldn't fix it. We needed to replace it. I know there's been different comments and different opinions, but unless you work there, you would not understand what we had to deal with. Plenty of times my computer would just go down because we'd lose electricity for no reason, not even a storm in the sky, okay? So I said this back in 2025, the previous commission was there, you were there, Mayor, and I don't know all the politics behind everything. I don't know all the financing behind everything. What I do know is I worked there, and we needed a better place to work. We still are in need of that. In fact, the place where we are was an upgrade to where we were working. So please consider that. I hope y'all come to a decision so we can get this on the road. We are working under conditions still not perfect, better, but not perfect. And I'm looking forward to a new building. And my other comment is that I hope you don't, in efforts to save money, pare it so far down that we're back in the space that we were back then. I had an office, utility billing. I have 9 employees in my office, and we were sitting on top of each other. And that's not a good way to work. So please consider those comments. I was encouraged to come here and speak by many of my colleagues and coworkers, and so I hope you hear those comments, and I hope we can get this on the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Henry Gomez, followed by Ms. Cynthia Rushing.
I thank the mayor for allowing me to stand and extend my remarks. I want to talk about the hotel motel tax. Okay, I remember on the.
No, we're not here for that today, Mr. Gomez.
Okay, I apologize to you. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Cynthia Rushing.
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners. I just want to bring facts. I heard that there's a belief that $95 million was being asked, and I know the former Mayor Johnson made reference to it, but as the former CFO, I can tell you that the $95 million was the number that was given to us by the financial advisor. And the financial advisors gave us that amount based on how much debt that we could take on without increasing property taxes. And so the goal of this project was to ensure that Texas City would not increase the property taxes. So that was where the number came from. before you do anything, you need to know how much money do you have available to even spend. And so that was where our starting point was, to say, okay, we have a budget of $95 million. And of course, if our goal was to spend as much as we could without increasing property taxes, we would have stayed at a $95 million project. But once we had what the budget was, or the amount of money that we could spend, we went back to PGAL, and PGAL gave us an estimate of $75 million, and then we said, okay. But we could have done probably other things to reach that $95 million. So we returned, we were basically very good stewards and responsible and saying, okay, we're going to do this for $75 million. And the $75 million was to build for the future and not have us look at this in 10 years later and say, okay, we need to expand again. So the best thing and the most efficient and effective way of spending taxpayer dollars is to be most cost effective by saying, hey, what can we do that we can actually have efficiencies for years to come? And so the building that was former City Hall was in place for over 55 years, and so we were looking at a long-term goal and a long-term solution to minimize the amount of money. So $74 million is the amount. The $95 million was the starting point that said this is how much you can spend based on the debt structure. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. There being no one else to speak on public comments, we're now going to open it up to item number 4, which is the commissioners' questions, comments, and discussion. Commissioners, any questions, concerns, comments, discussions that y'all want to ask the department heads, the company that's putting this together?
Mayor Garza, I have some questions.
Yes, sir.
Your questions, then comments?
Either which way. It's all the same item 4.
Okay, fantastic. First, just as a point of information, I had a couple of my constituents distribute this newsletter, so that's my fault if that was out of order. The first comment and then a question is, government does not exist for the sake of government. We don't exist to build buildings, beautiful buildings. We're not Washington, D.C., we're not establishing the Smithsonian, we're not trying to build air and space. We exist for the function of making sure that the water drains and there's fresh water and there's police. That's the whole reason why the citizens have government. So this idea that, well, we need to consult some experts on how much money can we borrow is just false. We don't go to people to figure out how much can we borrow. So in this graphic, what I've distributed right here, Mayor, thanks to the wise leadership of Mayor Chuck Doyle and Mayor Matt Doyle, I've just put together a couple of bullets of the residential construction developments that were begun under their wise leadership. Because of the financial crisis that happened in 2008, Lago Mar was 10 years late to begin breaking ground. But that did not happen under Mayor Johnson. That happened under prior mayors. So whether we're talking about Lago Mar, or Marlow Lake, or Central Park, or Grand Cay Harbor, all of those were done under a previous leadership. So now that all those developments were done, we were just coming into realizing the property tax and the sales tax benefits from that, and then under the previous administration, all of that money is now obligated for debt service. So effectively, we are flush with cash, and at the same time, we are dead broke. So what I've also tried to do is put together a list right here of other priorities that this city needs. Things like, yes, we need maintenance on buildings, without a doubt. And for the lady who made the comments, thank you for coming and speaking. It can be intimidating to get in front of a microphone. I appreciate your courage. Trust, we will make sure everybody has a desk. But there's no reason to be hasty, because we are in this now. We are painted into a corner for $120 million. So let me give you a real number. 95 million is a distraction. The real number that the public should focus on is the 120 million that we are obligated to pay back over 20 years. That's the real number to focus on. So there's no reason to be in a haste or we got to do something. We need to figure this out and sort this. So I appreciate Mayor Johnson's newfound appreciation for transparency. Bravo. And I am hopeful that we will have more meetings on this. Thank you, Mayor, for that. And they should ideally be in the evening. So I just want to acknowledge that the reason this is a special meeting and that 4 commissioners forced this is because some folks didn't want to have this transparency. It was forced. So we're having this meeting because we forced this meeting. Now, the first question I want to get to is, if we have some representatives here from Masterson or whomever can speak with authority on the bond itself, what are the options that we have? Can we pay this back sooner than 20 years? And could that save us some money? That's the first question. And the second question is, if we don't spend $55 million on a vanity complex, could we reallocate funds to some other projects? I do recognize that the CO has limitations, that we had to build things that were congruent with it, but does that mean that we have to build a municipal court? Or could we build a really fantastic fire chief office and that ticks the box so we're compliant with the bond? So there was a number of questions there. I appreciate that. Please, let's kind of work through those. Thank you.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me. Kristen Blomquist with Masterson Advisors. We did help advise on the certificates of obligation. So it sounds like you have 2 questions. One, can we repay or pay off
Yes, ma'am.
the new debt? And the other is, if we don't, can we spend some of those proceeds on other projects that
Yes,
the
ma'am.
commission? Wonderful. So first question, we are able to refinance these certificates of obligation. Now, just as, you know, bond market standard, we've always, in almost every financing that you're ever going to see with other financings and bonds and certificates, there is typically a 10-year call period. So what, you know, what bondholders like to see is that if they purchase a bond, let's say a 10-year bond or a 20-year bond, you're not going to take it away the next year, right, by refinancing. So they want some certainty that they're going to be able to hold on to that bond for a while. And what has become market standard is to give the bondholders 10 years to hold on to that bond before you can take it away. And so we've got 10 years where we can either refinance it today, which will cost extra money because we've got to wait that 10-year period. So we would have to use funds, set them aside in escrow, let them sit there for about 10 years so that the bondholder that we've already promised has a right to that interest and then that repayment. So that will cost a little bit extra because while we issued, say, $1 million, just throwing out a number, that $1 million has interest associated with it. Just like if you were to take out a mortgage, you're not just getting $350,000 and not paying interest on top of that over time, right? And so that's exactly the same way as with a bondholder. They want, you know, they have a right in some cases to hold on to that bond, get paid interest over 10 years, and then you can refinance it at that time. And that's very similar to, you know, everyone's mortgage, you know, 10-year, 20-year mortgage. And so that's one option. You can take funds from this financing, set it in escrow, and then let it sit there for 10 years or now 9 years, right? It's been about a year. And then you can pay off whatever portion that you feel comfortable, depending on the size of the municipal complex or depending on, you know, a few other factors as we go through how we want to handle this complex.
So let me insert right there. Thank you for that. That was very helpful, and thank you for being here, truly. This
absolutely.
is potentially a hot issue. This may not be what
Yes.
you normally do on a Thursday. If we were to hypothetically cut in half, instead of spending $55 million on a city hall and whatever constraints that we need to follow to be compliant with the terms of the bond,
Sure.
but instead if we spent $25 million and then we held those funds in reserve, then we could hypothetically pay down the debt significantly at year 10. Is that right?
You could pay down the debt, and just to help answer your second question is we do have flexibility with this bond financing or these certificates to use those proceeds for other things that were included in the notice of intent that you had published with your constituents.
In the official statement, it delineates things like infrastructure, streets, and other things, right? Yeah, the 147-page official statement. I'm a nerd.
It's a big one.
It's good bedtime reading, but yes, I read that.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
what are the bare minimum requirements that we must meet to be compliant with the terms of the bond?
So as long as you are spending down those proceeds that comply or that that are for the purpose of what is outlined in that notice of intent that was published in the newspaper, then that's what you can spend those proceeds
So
on.
hypothetically, instead of building a new municipal court complex, it could be a municipal court office or annex? And does that mean we're still compliant with the municipal court requirement?
Yeah, so, I mean, I would need to, I am not bond
Understood.
counsel.
Understood. I'm
So
giving
I
you some
would need to-
foreshadowing, though.
Yes, yes, so I would need to, kind of relay all of, these more detailed legal questions with your counsel. But really, the one big component that will be tricky if you were to pay for it on its own is if it was just council chambers and council chambers alone. If it sounds like the council chambers that you all are contemplating is more of a flex space and will include municipal court and kind of other uses for commission chambers.
Let me add some clarity for that. I can't speak on behalf of the other 6 voting members of the commission, but I know that this commissioner doesn't need a new council chamber or an office or a private conference room. So I'm against none
Understood.
of that on my behalf. The others will decide.
Mhm.
But if hypothetically we nix the idea that we need a new city commission chamber and private
Mhm.
conference room and bathrooms and all that other kinds of fancy stuff,
Mhm.
the other thing that's been told to me is, well, Jason, if we don't have that, then we still have to have a new municipal courtroom or else reasons. That's what I'm getting at. So if no city council chamber, no commission chamber,
Right.
and
That-
then no muni court, are we outside of the requirements of the bond?
Not that I can see. From what I've looked at in
Perfect.
your notice of intent, there are a multitude of other components of the municipal complex that your architect, went through. And again, I am not legal, so I don't want to, misspeak. But as long as those components fit within the notice of intent that you had published in the newspaper, then what you're spending on for those components is fine.
Fantastic. So then, Mayor, with that guidance, Jack, Joe, I think then we've talked about this privately, that there's flexibility in this. We don't have to go spend $55 million building a fancy city hall. Like, we could do other things with it. Is that a fair summary then, to kind of put a bow on all that?
Yes, as long as it complies with the notice of intent that you published in the paper, yes.
But just to comment on that question, the city employees did do research and found out that there is a House bill or some bill, 1869, that states that we have to have municipal court in this facility. Is that true?
I will need to go back and check with your counsel to make sure that that's accurate.
It would seem, Mayor Garza, that if it's a bill, it's not yet passed. And in the
No,
interim, we're
that-
bound by the obligations of our official statement. Is that right?
So House Bill 1860, whichever number that was, apologies, that did pass in the last, I can't remember if it was the last session or the prior session, but that does limit what you can spend certificates of obligation funding on. So they have put limitations on what you can spend COs on. That's right.
Yeah, that could require more research. I'm not an attorney either, but
Yes,
that's just what
so
we're hearing.
I'm gonna relay that information. And what would also be really helpful is I know we've got square footage, and just to understand, and I know we don't have costs just yet or estimates, but if we could get just a rough cost estimate so that we can kind of see, okay, what are the different percentages based on square footage, so that we can run an analysis, see how much it might cost to either escrow funds or repay part of this debt in order to make sure that you comply with the certificate's notice of intent. Does that make sense?
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
great.
I think others had some questions.
To Commissioner Delgado's question about can we pay this off sooner, and you mentioned that we could, but it's going to cost us. What would those costs look like for changing the plans from the original to going this route now?
So.
And also,
did-
sorry, part two, and what kind of effect would that have with those bondholders, our representation, or I mean reputation or credibility moving forward if we go for another bond in the future?
Yeah, so, because we do have that 10-year call provision where we can't call bonds more earlier than 10 years, the bondholders, they're safe. They've got, their 10 years locked in, so they're totally fine. Because what we're going to be doing is basically taking funds either from the proceeds or however you decide to fund it and put it in escrow. It's just going to sit there, earn interest. It's going to pay interest to the bondholders. So they're all set. They will not have any issue if we decide that we want to pay this back a little bit earlier. Did I answer your question?
I think part two, they won't have a problem, but part one, as far as like what the cost looks like
What
for
the
us
cost?
to do this.
Yes,
Does that-
yes. I think it also depends on how much we would be refinancing, or not refinancing, but how much we would be, it's called defeasing, so
From the
paying
original.
back in escrow. So depending on the, I guess, composition of this municipal complex, how much we would really be required to defease, that would have a big impact on how much it would cost. So let's just say part of this complex, there's 1,000 square feet that we can't spend these proceeds on, then that'll give me a much better understanding of, okay, 1,000 square feet, what does that equate to in dollars, and how much would that cost if we were to defease funds associated with that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I think right now, I guess I'll put it like the risk versus the reward. Is it?
It will be more expensive, if that's
Yeah.
what you're asking.
Okay.
It will
to
be
go
more
from,
expensive.
and I mean going from what the original plans were to going to one of these two plans, it'll be more expensive to go that route.
So if we cut the cost of the project and you have, let's just say you cut the cost in half, that means you've got half of whatever the project was. You said maybe 25 million or whatever the amount might be. You wouldn't necessarily have to defease that 25 million. You could use it for infrastructure. You could use it for, public safety or any of those other components within the notice of intent.
Okay.
And so, so cutting down the size of the municipal complex doesn't have a direct impact on the debt that's outstanding. It really depends on how much we would need to defease in order to make sure that the components within this complex fall within the allowable spending under the notice of intent. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a follow-on question to Commissioner Knoxon's questions. I appreciate his concern about holding faith with the bondholders. At the time that this money was borrowed, it was not well known that we had not we had not completed an audit. And that came out later after the money was borrowed. And we still have not posted a 2025 audit. I've spoken with our finance and accounting leader. There's a lot of moving parts to get ourselves ready to complete an audit.
Yes, and she's working very hard.
She's fantastic.
Yes,
And by the way,
she's-
anytime I'm in front of a microphone, I like to just acknowledge Ms. Laura Boyd. Thank you, Ms. Boyd, getting our fiscal house in order. So given that we were delayed in getting a 2024 audit up, and we still haven't posted a 2025, it strikes me that the time to really worry about what the bondholders think and what they think in the form of interest rates is when you borrow the money. But now subsequent to that, given that we have not yet, that we are poorly performing on our audit and we've been sanctioned by the state attorney general, does that have any potential negative impact on our borrowing ability, or on whether it's this bond, or maybe it's just separate for that's future? Like if our credit rating takes a hit because of our fiscal problems, it's really for the future. These guys can't call us in a default because our credit rating fell.
Correct. The bondholders, they have purchased your debt on the date it was issued. Now, there is a secondary market where you've got, bondholders that are trading, and you've got, very much like the stock market, you've got the secondary market for municipal securities. And so because of any hit to the rating, that will have an impact to the secondary market trading. Now, if you were to issue bonds tomorrow and you've got a hit to your rating, then yes, it will impact what your bond issuance will, the interest rates that your bond issuance would yield. Does that answer your question?
That was fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, these are things that keep me up nights, is worrying about audits and our inability to balance our books. Mayor, I'm good on the bond. I had questions related to construction projects, but I want to do things orderly. You kind of guide us.
Yeah, I had some questions on the construction too. Okay. I can talk about the bond first.
Yeah, go ahead, talk to you.
Well, first, I want to thank everyone for coming out today. This is a perfect example of the difference between this administration and the one we had before. We didn't have to have this meeting. We chose to have this meeting because we want to share it with you. No one's requiring us. All the meetings we had before about this, they were required. So, in today's paper, a former mayor described the working condition in the former city hall, since we're talking about misinformation, as, I quote, deplorable. Deplorable. I'm going to define deplorable for you. Yes, it's on here. Deplorable is an adjective that means very bad, shameful, or deserving strong blame. It describes actions, living spaces, or behavior that are so shocking or unacceptable they cause disgust or deep regret. I'm sorry, guys, I was there. That's ridiculous. I saw it. You work much better than most people do in the whole entire world. You have it really good, and it's a shame that you're going to say that, or that he's going to say that. And while we're defining things, let's talk about a certificate of obligation bond. Certificate of obligation bond is typically, to make it easy, it directly benefits the city or its residents through infrastructure, public safety, however you want to do it. I don't think this year, that's why I didn't vote on it before. This obviously was never intended to benefit the citizens. It was to benefit the mayor as an accomplishment and his staff. Remember, all of us, including myself, on the former administration, we fully understood that our constituents did not support this. None of them did. Well, let me rephrase that. The majority of the constituents didn't approve this. So, they went ahead and went with it anyway. They knew they had to do it before the state requirements, get it done. And that was a decision that they would regret in the next election. So for too long, this city has been run by a mayor and this staff, but not anymore. It's going to be run by us and you, the citizens. That's how we're going to do things from here on out. Now, going from there, my questions are usually simpler than Commissioner Delgado's. What would you say the average cost per square foot it was in the original design? I mean, I know those prices were there, we saw them.
I did not see pricing.
One of you know.
It might be Jack.
Someone knows.
Yeah. Jack, I was calculating $875 a square foot for the realtors in the room.
So I'll just ask her the one question that I had for her. Maybe I didn't understand, maybe I'll make this more clear. If we did not put a municipal court in the new building, but we worked on the municipal court we do have, enhanced it, Would that be doable? Or do we must have a new municipal court in this building? That's a simple yes or no.
Well, so are you asking when the building was the existing building?
The existing building is gone.
Well, I know the existing building is gone, but are you talking about if we were to have renovated the prior building?
Okay. When we build this new municipal court, this new, what do we call it, the municipal complex?
Yes.
Does it have to have the municipal court in it for this CO to go through? Or could we just build a new city hall, make it bigger? It needs to be bigger. We were growing out of that city hall. There's no, but the designs we have, we're still tripling the size of that city hall on what we want to do.
So I will need to talk with legal counsel to make sure that, so my understanding was it was the council chambers that we needed to have as a flex space in order for the municipal complex to comply with the certificates of obligation, I guess, legislation. Requiring the municipal court, I will need to get back with you.
Commissioner, Commissioner, I think it was not a requirement. I think that was just the plan to centralize the departments. And also, as you mentioned, with expanding, the police department could actually have used that space as well. So I think it was not necessarily a have to. You have to put the municipal courts in City Hall. It was just to centralize those departments, and that with doing that would help the police department as well.
Yeah. Mr. Harrelson might have some more information.
So back to what I asked you, Jack, about
Let Jack answer your question.
Yes, sir.
the average cost per square foot.
Well, right now, and you got to keep in mind, we're shooting from the hip because there's no detailed drawings created. And so right now we're sitting about $825 a square foot, and that's just from an estimate right now.
Okay. And we had a training room in the first one that was 1,000 square foot, right?
Yes.
$825,000. I mean, we're not going to argue about the math. That's the math. And this is just, I don't know. What exactly is a war room?
Yeah. So, the war room is basically a nickname for our emergency operations center. So we just call it the war room when there's a massive disaster, a hurricane coming in, or a plant explosion. This is the room where the mayor, Jack, police chief, fire chief, this is where all the people would gather. After a hurricane, it would be the area where we have meetings with all our industrial partners at 7 in the morning, and then all of our department heads at 8 in the morning, and come up with a plan. And this is also where federal partners and state partners and county partners come in when we're working with multiple agencies on a big disaster. And in there we have whiteboards and clever touches, and this is where we develop our strategies and tactics. So that's kind of just a nickname for the
But we have a
room.
DOC right now that I've been into many times, right?
Yes, sir. We have an EOC right now.
I'm asking because the one in the design held 36 people. And the B, it's down to 12. So 12's adequate.
What's down to 12 now? The new EOC is 35, I believe. Is what we
35
have
in the
designed.
war room?
Yes, sir. And we've had that many in the war room. We had an oil spill not too long ago. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Commissioner. You might be looking at the area we proposed to move dispatch into, since this was going to be a fortified building.
I apologize, Joe.
Yeah. And the $800 square foot too. I just want to clarify that's an estimate for the whole building. There's some rooms that would cost a lot less per square foot, and then some rooms that are going to cost a lot more, like an MDF room or something like that would have a higher value. So overall, that's just kind of a real rough average.
Our original city hall was 15,000 square foot.
Yes, roughly. I mean, looking at the 1955 drawings, that's what we
Okay, what's
trying
the
to read,
square foot?
15,000 to 18,000 square feet. Yes, sir.
What's the square foot for B? 39,000. One more. So that's like a 70.
Yes, 39,000 square feet.
That's like 70% more.
Well, but you have
than
to
what we
keep in
had.
mind, Commissioner, that you know, a big section of that is, you know, the municipal court alone is 87.
Well, no, I agree with it. I like it. I like it. I'm just saying, a lot of people are saying that this little bitty building, no, this building is 70% bigger than what you were in.
Yes, a
It's
total
not-
building.
We can cut down that palace and it's still gonna be really nice. Still gonna be really nice. That's it. You know, people have said a couple things about the 2 o'clock thing. We all argued about that. We did not want 2 o'clock, but we had to have these guys, we had to work with their schedule, the guests. And this time frame, this 4 to 6 months thing, all I can say is we shouldn't have torn down the city hall so quick. There was no reason to do that day before the election. Maybe we should have waited and see what was gonna happen. It's not our fault.
That's a great comment.
Thank you,
from
Commissioner.
Sharp.
I want to address the 2 o'clock thing. That falls squarely on my shoulders. There was a lot of conversations about when the best time to have it, and Commissioner Sharp is right. We did have to coordinate a lot of schedules, and I was also trying to keep the employees in mind, not having them have to stay out. I knew this was going to be a long meeting, as probably our next public workshop, which we are going to try to move that to the evening time. So I didn't consider all the factors, so I take full responsibility for making the final decision on this 2 o'clock workshop. There was no nefarious intent there. It was just what worked out at best with all the people we were inviting, and to be able to get this on the agenda as quick as possible.
And I had some ideas for B. I think it would be possible to the CDGA, that's
Community development.
right. We could leave them where they were, just hypothetically. If we left them where they are, and we cut out of some communication area, and we gave a little bit of that to the IT, because IT is gonna need more than one office. That's another, we could save even more square foot right there.
Yes, sir. And this is definitely the time to make those type of decisions. A couple of things to note. IT has a large workspace, and where they're at now at the annex, which is also a pretty old building. But moving Community Development Grants Administration out of there into the new building serves several purposes. They interact a lot more with these other departments, where IT, that would give them room to expand. That's one department we really see growing, or we really hope we can grow in the future as technology increases. So having IT, one office in that building, was more to give them a space in there when they're working on any type of technical issues in that new municipal complex. They would have a space in there to work out of, but they would prefer to stay in that annex where they have their large workrooms.
So we would keep them where they are.
Yes, sir. And if we moved community development grants out of there, we'd have room for that department to expand into that building a little more also. So, but you're right, this is the time, and that's exactly, Commissioner, what we're looking for is some direction. So this is the time to kind of give us some feedback on that kind of stuff.
Perfect. Joe, the inventory of commercial real estate that we already have on our books, do you have a notion of just how much space we currently have, and then how many buildings or commercial square footage we have that's not used? City owned or EDC owned? Or maybe if we don't know, maybe we come back to it.
Yeah,
But just what I'm getting at is I think we have, through various means, accumulated a whole bunch of real estate. We're not really a real estate business.
Yes,
Why
sir.
are we holding all this real estate? That is a whole nother related question.
Yeah, and I can speak to that a little bit, Commissioner. I can do some research and get back to you more. The EDC does own a lot of property and some buildings, but that is really completely separate from the city. Those funds are used to encourage economic development and work with businesses. As far as the city-owned buildings, I don't, off the top of my head, Commissioner, I don't know of any that has space left in it. That annex, which is the old police station on Fifth Avenue, that's a very old building, and it has a lot of issues also, but there is no extra space in there that I'm aware of that's usable right now. Our other building that we own is the planning and engineering building. Part of the CO money went into fixing the roof on that, and the back half of that building used to be owned by Galveston County Daily News. So we've since acquired that portion, and we're remodeling that with the CO money to be able to expand that planning and engineering space a little more and make it a little more usable.
Ultimately, what I'm getting at is one of the things that's been said is, but Jason, we got to get everybody in the same place, which I just want to pop that balloon. I think that's preposterous. Out of the 18 departments that we have, one of them is sewage. I don't know any of you that are probably going to the sewer department on any routine basis. So just the idea that we need to get everybody all in the same space because we need that is preposterous.
Yes,
I just want to get that said. So now then, if we have other real estate that we could upgrade, like maybe the old Legacy Post Office building downtown on 6th Street, or like we don't have to solve it today, but what I just want to get out there from the public record is we have real estate we own that we could renovate, potentially, since this very nice lady just said we could use this funding for other infrastructure purposes.
I have a question to that, Commissioner Delgado. I don't think sewer was a part of the plan to centralize departments. I think that was listed. But I get your point of centralizing departments, but that's a bit of an exaggeration to list that people want to come talk about poop and sewage. That wasn't part of the centralizing plan. And I think it's kind of counterproductive or wasteful to look into renovating buildings such as that one on 9th Street. I think if that was an option, these employees and staff members were here during the original assessment, and if that was an option, I think they would have considered that as well then. I think it's going back to, hey, let's expand the old City Hall. Well, why do we need to build off of a building that is losing power when it's not a raindrop in the sky, you know? So renovating those buildings, I think, is be a waste of our taxpayer funds and not being good stewards of those funds either. Just a thought on that.
Can I say something about that? Because I was on the previous administration too. Well, we never discussed any of this. I don't know. Well, I mean, anything, nothing. Just said, hey, here it is, vote on it. I'm not really worried about it because I'm going to get it anyway because you guys have we have the majority, but you don't now.
Yeah. Commissioner Getchus.
No, I'm not done. I'm not done.
You guys, there is no you guys, Commissioner Sharp. I'm on the same commission that you are on, okay? So you keep trying to
I know,
create
I'm
division.
sure you knew
There
about
is
it.
no you guys.
Hold on,
Just
you
want to
guys,
be
that's
clear, there's no
enough.
you guys,
Commissioner
okay?
Getchus has the floor.
Well,
Commissioner Getchus has the floor.
Is there any empirical data to say that we needed a new city hall? I'm not talking about employees' need. I'm talking about growth of the city. We do know we're growing out in West Tech City. We're building down here. Have we forgotten about the west side, the new subdivisions? That seems to be what we were all interested in. I have never been presented with any of that. Have we looked at that, what we need out in Lago Mar, out in that area? Is there any plans at all, or have we just focused on 1800 9th Avenue?
From a public building standpoint?
From any public services out there, other than where you're at Public Works?
Well, I mean, that's where the Fire Station 4, I don't know, I can't respond to the empirical data. I don't know what to give you on that, Commissioner. I know that it was, areas were considered, and we're planning on expanding out that way with our public safety facilities. I hope that, does that even come close to answering?
Can you show me that there's, where we've done a study on the population growth, staffing requirements, service demand, facility utilization? Have we taken into trying to implement AI as it develops? I mean, we know in 10 or 15 years, less and less people will probably be walking up to pay their water bill. So that would be, in my mind, less people, more IT people.
Right.
Have we studied any of that? Has anybody said, hey, here's a study, or did we just go talk to people? And some of the people I've talked with said they had a say-so, a wish list, and I don't know how we formed all these offices here. I don't know who in their right mind would think every marshal needs their own office. That
Yes,
was
sir.
preposterous.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So I don't have any. We don't have any empirical data that you're talking about. Well, there was a study done, and this little off topic, a while back on the need for fire stations, and that's where we came up with the need for that 5th fire station and the location for it. And that was based off population growth and a consultant helping do those studies. Other than that, a lot of this was done just talking to people like PGAL and their experience in building municipal complexes through different communities, and it was of what do you like, what do you need, what do you want, what do you think you might need in 10 years or 20 years, which is really difficult nowadays because, like you said, there's going to be so many changes coming. We don't know which departments are going to need more, which are going to be less. But after that, and that was kind of the process, one of the first things we did was put down what's your wish list, right? And then we got to that point, we started trying to get real rough estimates on what that would cost. And Cody, correct me, jump in here if I'm wrong. But once we get to that point, then we start looking at, all right, what can we cut? What's most important? What's not needed? And we were kind of in that process, getting ready to go out for bids when this change occurred, and we started getting this feedback, and that brought us to today. But so I hope that answers your question. I don't have any research or empirical data to back that up, though.
And there probably should be, but I would agree. PGAL is a very good organization. They're very capable, but they base on what we tell them we want, not what empirical data said you need and what the growth rate was going to be of the city.
Yes, sir.
And I think we missed that boat all along. How much money did we borrow? I've heard 74, 75, 70. I don't know.
$70,855,000.
I just got a quick clarification question because both Commissioner Delgado and Commissioner Sharp brought up a point, and I got lost in the translation somewhere with this. But the simple, because I'm a simple soldier, the simple question I got is, you're saying that if we save by downsizing our municipality complex, that we can either relocate that funds to something else that's been earmarked in the initial letter of intent, correct?
Correct. That's right.
So, say we didn't put the city court in the city hall, we left it where it's at the police station. The money that was earmarked for that could be used to renovate that area, or where IT and CDGB could be used?
So you would be limited to what was outlined in the notice of intent.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, if we did that, would that money still could be used, but
Yes.
we could use it elsewhere other than on the municipality complex?
Correct. So
Okay.
long as it's, I would love to send all of you the notice of intent so you can, and we can all make sure that the funds that will be spent elsewhere, that they qualify to be able to be spent.
Okay. That's the only question I had about the bond or anything else.
Mr. Sharp. You're next.
On the bond?
Did I have something on the bond?
Hey,
Oh,
Jack?
yeah, okay, I thought we were just gonna go back and forth, I'm so sorry. We don't have a picture of maybe the front of the, B.
Yes,
You have that on?
it should be one of the last
Did we
slides.
show it?
Right. Yeah, that's it right there.
This is the B.
Yeah, because you can't, right now, there's no difference between the
I'm
A or
just
the
saying,
B.
that's a beautiful building.
I agree, yes,
That's a
sir.
beautiful building, so I think bringing it down to that, I don't think we're gonna be losing anything.
It's still 2 floors, Jack?
No.
No, sir, that's
Okay,
single,
just that
single
front
story.
facade is kind of
It's just, that's what the architects get paid for, is to make a simple building look like. And you know, we gotta have to keep in mind as well is that anything new, when you have something that's not new for so long, anything new looks extravagant. And that's not necessarily the case. You know, just the new codes and requirements that, windstorm requirements that we have to build to, that drives a lot of costs up, especially, you know, just being in Texas City. So it's going to be, what we have planned is only the public-facing areas are going to look nicer. Everything else just looks like you're going to the doctor's office. I mean, it's just a regular commercial building. You go into somebody's office, it's just got drywall and paint and carpet on the floor.
That's a great lead-in, Jack, to my next question, which was, so for those unfamiliar with commercial construction costs $825 a square foot seems a little bit rich.
We agree. We agree, and I think that Spall Glass would also agree that he's not enjoying us and our architect hammering on him about coming off of that dollar or that amount. We're working on it, but without giving them some more details to price onto, they're not comfortable coming off of that number just yet.
It's understood.
Yes,
But just for those who may not follow this and the significance of that, let's assume that anyone in this audience lives in an 1,800 square foot house. An 1,800 square foot house times $825 a square foot means $1.4 million for your house, just to make that real easy to kind of consume. That's really rich. So Jack, the follow-on question then is, I look at Tanger and other commercial buildings that have been built around here, are there lower cost means of construction that we could explore, like tilt wall buildings and other things like that?
I can assure you one thing, Commissioners, that when we choose a path to go, I'm a taxpayer too. We're not looking just to spend every cent that we have, so we will continue to look for cost savings measures, because I assure I'm not enjoying going to come up here and answer those questions of why it costs so much. So, and these guys know that we're going to hammer on them to get it down to as low as possible.
Thank you for that, Jack. Your perspective is refreshing, and very much appreciate you guys taking time for this. But just in fairness, we heard from some members of the previous administration that started the conversation with, we went and asked how much we could borrow so we could spend 100% of it. So it's through this hearing that we're bringing some accountability to, just because we can borrow it doesn't mean we got to spend it. Like, that's the key point that we're trying to get across today. Jack, could we pivot to what has been spent so far today? Because I've heard conflicting versions of, gosh, if we don't move forward with this Spall Glass, they may hold us in breach, and gosh, if we don't do this, then the contractor's that, and we're wasting money on a daily basis, so we got to do something. Can you kind of address what have we already spent, and if I'm correct in hearing you that we need to go out to bid, then we're not currently obligated to spend another nickel on construction until we're ready. Is that a fair summary?
Well, what we've got, I mean, we have 2 people under contract right now, and I can only speak for the construction alone. We've spent a little over $3 million currently, but we have a contract with PGAL, and then we have a contract with Spall Glass. Now, Spall Glass, that consists of 2 different aspects of their contract. It's a pre-construction amount, and I believe that's about $60,000 that we pay for all the help that they're giving us just developing the design and getting us ready to go out for bid. And then there's percentages that was part of their bid that once we get a guaranteed maximum price for construction, then those will enact on that.
Excellent. And I do want to express appreciation to the vendors that are present today. I'm assuming they probably don't live in our city. They may not be aware that we just had an election on May the 2nd, and the voters spoke overwhelmingly that they were not in favor of the plans, the construction, the square footage, or any of those things. So that's kind of what's happening right here. Is this is the first time the public is really getting their eyes on this. And so I'm hopeful that they take this back to heart. Okay, so then understanding then what you just said, Jack, is there's really 2 contracts that are binding right now in some form or manner. One to Spall Glass, one to PGAL. Is that a fair summary?
From a construction standpoint, I'm not, I wasn't privy to the, I know like the rental of the facility that we're currently using as a city hall. And we've had some miscellaneous costs, asbestos abatement, demolition, the surveys, things like that.
Okay, so then cash out the door, not talking about the library, is about $3 million so far. Is that what you said?
Just that's what we've spent, including those things, just on the municipal complex project.
Okay, perfect. That's good. I yield.
Thanks. I just wanted to say,
Joe, I have a question
Go
for
ahead.
you. Thank you.
Go ahead.
We've had some staff members come up and speak about, the previous city hall that was demolished. Can we speak to what this looks like for them now? I know we said we asked them to let you guys know what do they need. I know I heard Commissioner Delgado mention everyone's going to get a desk, and I believe everyone had a desk at the previous city hall. But what does that look like as far as space for them to operate here in this new model, A or B? Is it conducive for them now, and then also how long will it be conducive for them to operate out of?
Absolutely, yeah, great question, Commissioner. And so, once we started getting feedback that we were looking for something smaller and something less expensive, Jack went around and talked with every department. So what we hope, when Jack said earlier, we hope this option B, the one I like, or option A, it still checks all the boxes. The reason it's smaller isn't because we took out, offices that somebody was going to use. We took out those offices and we put them somewhere else. Like, for instance, IT, all that space will be now staying over there. So still we have offices that are going to be adequate, and we're going to have a little room for growth still. Not as much as the previous building, but we still will have room for growth in option A or option B. Just because we took out 2,000 square foot for, and I say IT as an example, we're still using that 2,000 square foot somewhere else. So I think these two options are still going to check all the boxes, and I think it'll be a place that our employees are happy with moving forward. That answers your question?
Yeah, one of my concerns was, I know we're trying to cut costs, and I can respect that. But if we're going to build a smaller city hall, just to come back 10 years later to, hey, we need to add more to it now, were we good stewards of our taxpayer dollars because of that? Or were we just trying to, for lack of a better term, be cheap, and now it's going to cost us more money at the end of the day?
Yes, sir. That's a $1 million question, I think. That's a great thing to consider. And it's really hard looking into the future, seeing, what our needs are going to be. So the other thing that reminds me when we're talking about this subject is the current facilities that we did move into, the old building on 21st and Texas Avenue. That was an old clinic, and it is definitely not adequate for the work that we're doing now. These offices are tiny. The cell phone drops. I usually have to walk out to the lobby to make a call. There's a lot of issues with the building we're in now. It's decent enough to get us through until we can get something else, but it's definitely something that we need to consider.
I'm in agreement with that, but we should have thought of that first.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Joe, I want to say something. So just to be clear on this growth thing, with Plan B, obviously I like Plan B. We've removed that $825,000 training room.
Yes, sir.
We put the purchasing department with finance, which should be anyway. We put economic development where they are now. We took out one associate judge office. We took out one marshal office. We took out one clerk office. I think we're going to be okay with growth. I mean, we've only removed 4 offices from people. Really, we just took out big stuff. There's no reason why this isn't good enough. There's no reason we need to do that. And another thing I want to make a point of, 2 things. I've heard this $95 million thing a lot. I was here before. It was never $95 million. Okay, I want to make that clear. That was, like they said, that was a number that it was approved that much, but they were never going to spend that. They went and said, this is what we need, and they said, this is how much it costs. There was never, it's $75 million. Just forget about the 95. It's just being distracted from that. But I think it's amazing, and I'm going to finish with this. I think it's amazing now to realize how much we could do, how much we could save and use for other things, and we never considered it. We never considered that. We thought, you know what, instead of taking some of this money and doing this, let's just build this thing. I mean, imagine what we're just spending on that one room, what we could have done in our city. That's my comment. I think we could have done better. I yield.
Any other comments, concerns, questions?
A final one, Mayor, and I'll be brief, I promise, I swear. Joe, Jack, if I sum it all up, what we've covered in the last hour and a half or so is, the first one is, we don't have to spend all the money. Is that a fair summary? This nice lady behind you, I think what we heard is, we borrowed it, but we don't have to spend it. Is that a fair statement?
What you don't spend will need to go back to paying off the debt.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Number 2, this next one's for you. We have options on alternative uses of that money, right? We have
Correct.
options. There's other things that we could spend because it's the public's money, right? Just
Correct.
because the former mayor really wanted us to have a vanity complex, we don't have to do that. We could invest in things like streets and sidewalks and roads. We could do other things with it.
Yes, so long as it's outlined in the notice of intent.
Fantastic. And then now, Jack, Joe, you guys have said at least 5 different ways we're right-sizing the plans. When do you think we might be able to reconvene and look at update? Because this is all kind of work in progress, right, guys? So when do you think we'll be closer to, hey, this is what we think is the right plan?
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Commissioner, because this was my main objective, and Jack's also, is we need direction. We need to know, because we're going to spend time, money, and energy coming up with what we think is the right plan, but we don't want to do that if it's going to be met unfavorably, because ultimately, whatever plan we come up with, it's got to come back before a commission to get approval. And if y'all deny, if people on the dais don't agree with the plan we came up with, then we just wasted a lot of time and money. So, having said that, the hope today is for us to get direction from the current, hopefully a consensus of what y'all would like to see built, and then we can hit the gas, like Jack said, and we can come up with a plan pretty quick. It's going to take a while to get PGAL, give PGAL some time to draw it, get with Spalglass, come up with some estimates, and I think, you know, if we got clear direction today leaving here, I think in a couple months we can come back with some more clarification on, you know, other than the hand drawings, get you some better information.
Thank you, Mayor.
I have a question just for clarification. Heard a few different things. I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear. We only took out 70 million. Is that correct? So the previous administration, we were allowed, I guess you could say, 95 million, but we only took out 75 million.
That's correct.
So we did not use 100% of what we.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And
Where-
so, and just to give a little bit of clarity around where that number came from. So anytime we work with our city issuers, the first question is, okay, we've got a basket of capital improvement plan. We've got all these different infrastructure projects that we'd like to do, or we don't have infrastructure projects, but we want to think about them. We have a current tax rate of this much. What is it that we can afford so that we can either start thinking about a capital improvement plan or start kind of, you know, cutting back on the different infrastructure projects that we want to do. And so that's really the first step that we take with our clients is what is it that their current tax rate can afford? And so that's where that number came from. And then it turned into, of course, okay, well, we don't want to do that. So let's think about, you know, what we want to do so that we can kind of move forward on any other projects that we have that we're interested in.
And I know it's been talks about we don't have to spend all the money. We can allocate those funds for other improvements. But as you keep giving a disclaimer, it has to fit within the intent. And I don't think anybody has that in front of them right now to specify.
Well,
or do we
might.
exactly what that means? Because just putting it out there that, hey, we can allocate those funds for other infrastructure improvements, there's still some specific things that you have to allocate it for. So I don't want anybody to leave here with the misunderstanding like, hey, we don't have to spend all the funds on the new city hall. We could do upgrades to our utilities department or water department. Well, it may be some stipulations in having to allocate those funds to that. So that'll be a great thing to allocate those funds to another department or another infrastructure improvement to the city, but also understand there's some stipulations probably with what you can do and how you can do those funds. And lastly, just for a point of information, please don't take this the wrong way or insulting to, but I was a part of that previous administration, and we had 4 public information sessions for the public, for the community to come out to hear these plans, hear these ideas, and share their thoughts and opinions about them. So for the comments of what the previous mayor may not have done, the transparency, I think having 4 public information sessions for the community to come out, I think that is showing transparency. I think that is showing and allowing people to come out to express themselves, which I did see current members of this administration there and speaking out in their opinions about it, which I respect that. But just for a point of information and clarity to you guys here, there were 4 of them. Thank you.
Thank you. A comment from Commissioner Johnson.
It's not really a question towards anybody. I already asked that, but it's a simple comment that I got. Basically, it comes down to I've been told that the city of Texas City needs to do better. The city of Texas City is better. Well, the city of Texas City voted on May 2nd to move forward. As a new commission, I like to think that we're trying to work together to move that city forward. With the new municipality complex, I like Plan B, just like Commissioner Sharp does. But, so we were given a hole to dig out of. And we had one of our citizens exercise one of their constitutional rights at that scar of our city right now, of where our city hall used to stand. Did I agree with everything he did with how he did it? No, but it was his constitutional right to protest his government in the way he saw fit. He was a veteran who served under that flag and deserves the right to protect that flag. That's all I got.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much for putting up this is the list of projects that have been approved through the notice of intent that was published in the newspaper and also published on the city's website for 45 days before we priced these bonds, or before the commission meeting where we approved the sale of the bonds. So the first one is constructing a municipal complex that includes all of these different components within the complex on 1801 9th Avenue North. The second one is renovating the existing Public Works building on 1701 9th Avenue North. The third one is constructing and renovating parking structures and facilities to serve the new and renovated city buildings. And then the fourth is to construct and repair different streets, roadways, including road, streets, sidewalks, drainage, and related improvements. The fifth one is to purchase materials, supplies, and equipment. And then the sixth one is just any professional services involved with the sale of the securities.
So, all of 1 through 6 all go back to, it has to be to the project, not to say, hey, we want to take some money from downsizing and put it to renovating one of these old buildings that the city has.
That is
does
correct.
not fall in line with the intent.
That is correct.
So that will not work, okay? So we downsize, save money, so we cannot take money from this project and go renovate one of our old buildings for whatever reason. They don't say that in here.
That is correct.
That is correct, okay.
Yes. You can work on roadways around the building or sidewalk improvements, but not the actual building
But
itself.
it won't help our staff or, fixing the sidewalk when we need space for them to do
Understood.
their job.
But it'll help our
Thank you.
citizens,
Thank you.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, good, so everyone's paying for it.
A sidewalk, yeah.
Members of the commission, we're about to bring this to a close. You've heard from the public who voted us in office and who we serve. You have to listen to what they say, you have to listen to what the experts are telling you, and you have to listen to what the employees are telling you, which is we don't like working, sitting next to each other, we're breathing down each other's necks, we need adequate space.
Old rats.
We have 3 drawings, the original drawing, and then you have option A and B. We have decisions to make. We have to make them sooner than later, but it's not a race. It's defined by Commissioner Delgado. It's not a race, but we want to make sure we do it right. And however long it takes, the sooner the better, guys. Having no further comments, this meeting is adjourned.